Hi.
Greetings. In the Proclaimer's book, page 200, we're finishing the chapter, They Are No Part of the World. 3 paragraphs. And I'll read the first one, where they get into some historical matters regarding the early Christians. Reverence toward the gods, well, let me give you the heading first so we know what their target is. Helping their fellow man. Reverence toward the gods was at the heart of the social and cultural life of the Roman Empire. Since Christians abstained from sharing in anything tainted by the pagan gods, the people viewed Christianity as an affront to their way of life. And according to the historian Tacitus, Christians were said to be haters of mankind. Conveying a similar feeling, Minucius Felix, in his writings, quotes a Roman as saying to a Christian acquaintance, quote, "You do not attend the shows, you take no part in the processions, abhor the sacred games," unquote. The populace of the ancient Roman world little understood the Christians.
Similarly, today, Jehovah's Witnesses are not understood by many in the world. People may admire the high moral standards of the witnesses, but feel that witnesses should share with the world around them in its activities and get involved in helping to make the world a better place. However, those who get to know Jehovah's Witnesses firsthand learn that there is a biblical reason for everything they do. Far from shutting themselves off from the rest of mankind, Jehovah's Witnesses devote their lives to helping their fellow men in the way that Jesus Christ set the example. They assist people to learn how to cope successfully with the problems of life, now, by acquainting them with the Creator and the guidelines for life that are set out in His inspired Word. They freely share with their neighbors Bible truths that can transform a person's entire outlook on life. At the core of their belief is the realization that the world is passing away, that soon God will intervene to bring the present wicked system to an end, and that a glorious future awaits those who remain no part of the world and put their full faith in the kingdom of God.
Back to paragraph 1.
These quotes.
Minucius Felix and Tacitus. What's the problem? Well, first of all, you're quoting from non-Christian authors. But because you don't place this in time chronologically, you're left to guess as to what period of time we're talking about here. Your general idea is that, well, this is the early church. But 3 times, by my count anyway, 3 times, or is it 4? In one paragraph, you referred to these people that they're talking about as Christians.
Yeah.
And this despite the fact that according to other texts, even in this book, this is the period when the great apostasy had taken over. If you look up Minucius Felix and Tacitus, you find out, though, first of all, they're non-Christian authors, but Minucius Felix, the one you've quoted here, particularly is we don't know precisely when he lived, but it was sometime between around the time of Irenaeus, around 180 AD to 300. Somewhere in there, Minucius Felix is talking this way. So he's talking about Christians that you've already branded as apostates, and you're looking now to apostate Christianity for your moral example as to be known part of the world.
You're saying that they behaved like they should as Christians and were no part of the world, and so they're a good example. But then that means you're citing apostates for your example.
And what do you say? That, of course, you should think about if you're a Jehovah's Witness. You do not attend the shows, you take no part in the processions, in other words, the public celebrations, etc. Abhor the sacred games. Well, you think, well, okay, that sounds like they were no part of the world in an obvious way, but even by that standard, Minucius Felix's complaint here, do you take no part in the shows? I mean, he's talking about theater, theatricals. He's not just talking about nationalistic games or nationalist or bowing to the emperor, let's say, giving a pinch of incense to the emperor in a symbolic way at public events, that kind of stuff, which would be blatant idolatry.
Yeah.
But taking part in the shows, well, that's basically about your moral life, what you participate in, and you realize that their application of these principles even now is arbitrary. Like, you can drink if you're a Jehovah's Witness. Likely
Yeah,
you're not going to ever get disfellowship for over drinking,
Yeah.
but you will be disfellowship for smoking.
If you smoke, yeah.
You're not disfellowship for going to the shows, but you would be disfellowship for taking part in public events that have something to do with government.
Going to a church.
And going to a church for sure.
You can go to a theater, but don't go to a church.
But this idea of being no part of the world, the fact that they would resort to this at the end of the chapter, you're caught in a double think then. Maybe the writers don't even realize they're caught in a contradiction here when you're citing apostate Christians and you're calling them Christians.
Yeah.
And yet you technically believe that they were apostate by the year 100.
Yeah. So, but you said they're quoting people that aren't Christians who are talking about Christians, but you have said elsewhere that in that period they were apostates.
Yeah. So just like you do the Bible in bits, that is, grab what you can to support your narrative.
Yeah,
you do history in bits.
And you don't give details. You know, why aren't there any years for these people? Like when they lived or what period you're talking about.
All you do is keep Jehovah's Witnesses in a fog when they have to evaluate anything historically or biblically. And then you claim in paragraph 2 that the witnesses do everything because they have a biblical reason.
Mm-hmm.
Then you cite Jesus Christ as an example as to how we should be no part of the world.
But he's presented,
about his priorities.
Yeah, he's presented as basically a teacher,
a rabbi.
That he goes around and teaches people. But where is the healing and the feeding in that illustration? Was he part of the world?
So,
because he fed people and he healed people?
Jesus therefore was ministering to the whole man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what the church tries to do. I don't think most churches do a particularly good job when it comes to teaching the whole Bible, but they do a great job when it comes to charity.
Yeah.
Almost all the churches I've been acquainted with have done excellent jobs, certainly. And compared to Jehovah's Witnesses, they've all done an excellent job in terms of meeting the needs of the whole man. Yeah. They could make improvements, but the Jehovah's Witnesses have excused themselves from the responsibility of taking care of any aspect of our human life other than our need for spiritual food. And of course, we know what they've done with that too.
So they made a lot. They said in here, that they don't. They're being criticized for not helping make the world a better place, and they say. This is because they believe the world is passing away. But the text that you're taking that from was in the early century, and are you saying for 2,000 years the church shouldn't have helped anybody? Done any of these kinds of works that make the world that you live in a better place at the time you live?
Yeah, you have said toward the end of the last paragraph, at the core of their belief is the realization that the world is passing away, that soon, and that's the key word, soon, soon God will intervene. Well, if I believed that, I would be relatively negligent about all the practical needs, and I was when I was a pioneer. I neglected to have insurance, I neglected to have a decent job, because I thought in the decade that I was living in, the 1970s, it would all be over and we'd be starting all over again. Yeah. But you have thought that for 6 generations.
Yeah.
And according to your lights, Christians should have been thinking this way for 2,000 years.
Yeah, and I would say, we might have made some of the same choices we have in our Christian walk. A lot of the same choices of it's not neglect, but choosing things that we will prioritize and things we won't because of the work we do, or some of it was just circumstances. It was too late for some of these things by the time we left the witnesses. But I would say every Christian has to think during his life the best, what he can do and what he should do and what he should prioritize. they believe that the world will pass away, but we don't know when it's going to pass away. So during your lifetime, always be ready for when it ends. It's you still have to live, and you still have to do good while you're here.
Well, to say Jesus Christ set the example, yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus ministered to the whole
Man.
And
Yeah.
you've made the subhead here, helping their fellow man. The churches generally do a far better job of helping the whole man and
Yeah.
loving your neighbor than you do.
Yeah.
You think it's all about transmitting information. Therefore, Jesus to you is basically a rabbi. He's the best rabbi there ever was, the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not just feeding people's brains.
Yeah.
He was healing, feeding, and the early church followed his example in all of that.
Yeah.
Because you read in Acts 1 through 6 that they were taking care of the widows.
Yeah.
That was a responsibility. There were thousands of Christians by now, and there were many needy among them.
Yeah.
And Acts 4 makes the point that they had all things in common.
Yeah.
Where are you on that?
No.
By that standard, where are you as a Jehovah's Witness?
Mm-hmm.
I would say most churches are not doing that, but outstandingly so and boastfully so, you're not doing that because you say that there's something more urgent,
Yeah.
because soon God will intervene.
But there is lots of Christian churches that do help the poor, that help the people who are in need, and there's lots of organizations set up by Christians to take care of the needs of widows and orphans. And
even when I was a boy, by the way, in the Anglican Church, we lived in downtown Toronto, really, and the church had built while I was still a young man, a seniors residence right next to the church to meet the needs of their older members.
And some of
And
them
that's
have
very,
soup
very common,
kitchens.
very, very common in the church.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Feeding the homeless and taking care of drug addicts and stuff like that. We've been in many churches that do an admirable job of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What are our links?
We're actually going to link to a video about the subject of Acts 4 and 6. So it's, do Jehovah's Witnesses go to kingdom halls for help with their daily needs? Because that's the example you have in Acts 6. The widows went for distribution. So the Acts Church and the churches of today excel in charity. So it's based on my videos in the Bearing book on Acts.
See you soon.
Mm-hmm.